Hi, I'm Phil Cheatham, the 3D guy, and I'm going to talk to you about the kinematic sequence as measured by the MySwing system. Now, the kinematic sequence is a very important aspect of the golf swing. It allows us to see how efficiently energy is transferred from the big, strong muscles, the hips and the pelvis area, to the extremities, to the wrists and the hands, which are the smaller, faster muscles. And if you look at this graph, you can see that on the vertical axis, we have what we call rotation velocity, or angular velocity. And along the bottom of the graph, we actually have time. So we have backswing, we have downswing, and we have follow-through. The four different curves that you see there are the different parts of the body, how fast they're turning or swinging. So let's look at each one. The red one represents how fast the pelvis is turning. The green one represents how fast the rib cage is turning. The blue one represents how fast the lead arm is swinging. And finally, the yellow one represents how fast the club shaft is swinging. And these are measured in degrees per second. Remember, it's rotational velocity, not linear velocity. So it's not miles per hour, it's degrees per second. So what can we gain from this graph? Well, there's some very important things specifically about transition, which is this area of the graph, and the downswing acceleration, deceleration order, or the peaking order. So let's talk about the transition first. You can see that the red curve crosses this blue horizontal line first. That blue horizontal line is 0, which represents the transition from backswing to downswing. So when it crosses that curve, that part of the body has gone from backswing to downswing. So you can see if we look going from left to right, the red curve crosses first, green curve crosses second, blue curve crosses third, and finally the yellow curve. So what that tells us, we have a transition in the back from the backswing to the downswing of pelvis, rib, arm, club, which is a good sequence because that allows us to turbocharge and load each muscle across each group of muscle across each body joint, across the segments. So we see the core loading, the shoulder loading, and finally the wrist loading. This is a good example right here. If that's out of order, and we see that like the arms going before the shoulders, then we know we're losing and leaking speed, losing energy. So now let's look at the downswing phase, which is this area here. We see that each curve accelerates and decelerates, accelerates and decelerates. And that's the transfer of energy from one body segment to the other, the transfer of speed. So not only do we transfer speed, but we gain speed by the muscles across that joint. And that's the jump from one to the next to the next. So we can see how efficient you are transferring and gaining speed across a joint. We can also see how efficient you are in your sequencing. Do they go 1, 2, 3, 4 from left to right? So does the pelvis and the thorax transfer energy correctly? And does that go on down the chain? So that's kind of what we're looking here. And that is part of the information that's very important about the kinematic sequence in telling us, is it an efficient swing? Is it going to be a powerful swing? And so on with the kinematic sequence.